Wow. Well, I'm going to continue a theme first off and ask a question. So if everyone can raise their hands, if they've ever been to a station in the morning, gone to catch their train, and they've suddenly heard that your train has been cancelled. Ooh, that's a few more than I was hoping for, but never mind. It actually happened to me this morning on my way up from Swindon to Birmingham. My train was cancelled, so I know how frustrating it absolutely is. But for those of us that work in the industry, our biggest fear is to hear the words that we're sorry your train has been cancelled due to a lack of train crew or a lack of a driver. There's a lot of change going on within our industry at the moment. We're going through the largest upgrade of rolling stock and of the network that we've seen in generations. So there's going to be a lot of difficulties along the way. But for us to not have enough staff to deliver the services that we need to do is inexcusable. In 2014, that was very nearly a reality for us. We were one step away from cancelling services because we simply couldn't recruit enough people in the right place at the right time. So we developed a winning strategy. We went through our workforce planning. We looked at an efficient automatic process by embedding a new state-of-the-art ATS. We looked to improve our sourcing channels to attract people from outside the industry as well as inside, set minimum standards of assessment, and looked at the controls and governance around our onboarding process. So I'll take you back to 2014. The brief that we were given at that time by the board was to improve workforce planning, to expedite the recruitment process, to create a world-class candidate experience, and to identify crucial customer service skills in every candidate. It's also important to recognise that the industry that we work within is extremely traditional, very political, heavily unionised, so there's a lot of deep-rooted behaviour within that we were going to have to try and approach and bypass, so this was not going to be an easy challenge. So as a team, we had a look at our current systems and our current performance and came up with some where we could make the most dramatic improvements. We came up with to develop our recruitment processes, make sure they're relevant to present and future hiring decisions, to identify and appoint key partners to facilitate our shake-up. Where we didn't have the capability or the expertise in-house, we were going to need to go external for. We need to improve our GWR brand by overhauling our careers website and also some third-party platforms and engaging with those guys. We as a team decided that we wanted to deliver great customer service to all of our customers, so to all candidates, and they would then use that as a model to follow once they're in the business. But as I mentioned, we are in a hugely traditional industry. We needed to gain the buy-in from other departments and also the unions to make sure that they were on board to this new resourcing model. Prior to bringing on the model, we were very admin-heavy, very paper-based process, and actually a lot of our colleagues and union reps still wanted us to continue that process. They didn't want the change. So if I go through each of those achievements in a little bit more detail, the first one was around workforce planning. So prior to 2014, we didn't plan our workforce. If somebody left, then we would simply cover that through agency staff and overtime, whilst we were frantically then working away trying to recruit another permanent hire. But as a business, we implemented monthly workforce planning meetings across the business, looking at local level issues, so if there are any internal transfers, any internal promotions, or maybe potential levers through ill health, redundancy, poor performance, etc. And also infrastructure level development, so that could be new rolling stock, changes to our services, etc. And putting that all into a workforce model, which enabled us to then plan for 3, 6, 12 months and beyond what our workforce was going to look like, and then in turn what the resourcing demands were going to be for us. Also important to recognise that we do have extremely high levels of internal mobility, which we do want. That's a good thing for us. But when you have an operator coming into the railway, 9 times out of 10, their aim is to end up as a train driver. That's what they want. And there are certain steps to get there. So for every internal train driver that we recruit, there's 3, 4, 5 steps behind that of other moves. So we had a huge amount of workforce planning to do. And Damien's going to like me for this one, but we formed a strategic partnership with the ARCU to look at our ATS, moving away from our slow manual paper-based processes and making sure we had an efficient user-friendly system. And there are a few firsts for us within this. So Richard was talking before about mobile applications. So working with the ARCU, we were able to achieve or able to accept mobile applications, which for us as an industry is a sector first. I don't know if anybody else is caught up by that now, but that for us was we were the first ones. I mentioned before about paper-based CVs. We still do come across that. We're a couple of years into our journey now, so we're getting there, but we do still have very traditional people within the organisation that if they could, they would go back to the days of having a CV handwritten half the time, walking up to a manager, looking them in the eye and handing it over. And a lot of them would like to go back to that. So we do still have those objections. Thorough pre-assessment tools. So a lot of our recruitment is volume, so we needed to put through some robust stages for people to go through before they reach a face-to-face assessment or interview. That's fully automated and standardised for each volume role. Prior to that, as I say, paper-based CVs, we were shortlisting manually CVs for a volume post. And this has given us a holistic approach, so from attraction, selection to onboarding, brings all those aspects together. We've ditched the heavy admin requirements, not just of the applicants themselves, but also of the hiring manager with their time and also the recruitment team, which in turn, of course, has given us a far better experience for everybody that we touch. We also looked at our sourcing channels. Again, traditional industry, most applicants within rail come from within rail. Or they know somebody who worked within rail, their dad, their mother, their uncle, whoever. Somebody worked within them, they've told them about the railway, so they end up going there themselves. So traditionally, as an industry, we're missing out on a huge bank of talent that we just haven't tapped into. So what can we do to try and attract those people in? We needed to look at the brand, not just of GWR, but the industry as a whole, and how we present it and who we present it to. So we looked at our social media strategy. We've partnered with key social media platforms, some of which as well will work specifically with diverse groups of people that wouldn't normally be attracted to the railway. And going back to some traditional methods, we also have hosted some career fairs. So we transport over 97 million passengers per year across 208 stations in the southwest of England. So we've now set up career fairs in some of those stations to try to attract people to the business. And it's not just about volume, we do have some very specialist and technical positions, so we've developed a direct search capability, which we didn't previously have, and therefore enabling us to proactively hunt key talent and also avoid high agency costs in the time. And we've also developed a suite of attraction films, and these are designed to try to showcase not just GWR, but the rail industry as a whole to people who maybe just haven't considered it as a viable career before. We also looked at our standards of assessment. So we do have a lot of challenge within a very political and unionised environment around our hiring decisions. So to provide greater transparency and confidence in those, we needed to look at the process that we put people through, review that, improve it, and implement it consistently across the business. So I mentioned our pre-assessment tools before. We've developed a situational judgment test and a standardised telephone interview for volume roles, which gives us greater efficiencies. We typically receive over 60 applications for each volume role. Last year we had 23,000 and something applications, so we need an effective way of managing those, or needed. We've also revised the assessment process that we put people through once they've gone through that pre-assessment. So the team have been out with the business, working with key stakeholders, looking at what process we currently put people through, then reviewing what key criteria there is for the role and making sure that we've got the right tools in place to assess the people correctly. And then we've implemented those consistently across the business. So you'll no longer apply for a station assistant role in Slough and go through a different process than if you applied for one in Penzance. It's exactly the same process now. We couldn't have done this without engaging stakeholders. So we made sure that very early on in the process we involved them. That's both union reps and that's management, so that they very much bought into it. And their input was very valuable. You know, we as a team need to make sure that we're partnering and not directing them half the time. We've also got a leadership behavioural framework, so we've developed an interactive tool where managers can go into the tool and create an interview pack for the position they're just about to interview for, but it's based on those leadership competencies, so we are confident then that those are the ones that are being assessed. And finally, the controls and governance around our onboarding. So in addition to a quicker process, we did need tighter controls, but that wasn't to be at the expense of a good experience. We still needed it to be slick and efficient. So we ask for everybody entering GWR to undertake a basic UK criminal record check. Previously, we used to ask the individual to go away themselves, obtain the check, post it through to us, pay for it, post it through to us. We would then reimburse them once they've joined through payroll, a process that would take 4 to 6 weeks, and as you can imagine, it's it's not the greatest experience when you've just been offered a job to ask somebody to go through that. So we've gone through a third-party agreement, security watchdog, Richard, wherever you are, if you're interested, which has been going great. It's knocked off 2 or 3 weeks in the process, and as I say, the experience now, we've taken that pain away from having to manually apply, having to pay the fee. We've taken that all away from the candidate. We've also developed a strong relationship with the training team. So we, as a business, undertake a corporate induction for every grade every 4 weeks. So through the strong relationships that we've built up, we're able to make sure that entrants start on a corporate induction, so they're engaged with the business straight away. And everybody that's coming into the railway has to undertake a medical. A recent development that we've done is bring our occupational health provision in-house, which again provides us with greater efficiencies and more engagement into the brand straight away. So that was all well and good, but what were the results? Well, we've not just changed the mechanics, we've actually changed the culture behind everything. And there are some real tangible results that we can go through. So one of the brief was to expedite the recruitment pipeline. Well, our number of hires has actually more than doubled to 650 a year. At the same time, we've slashed the time to hire from 65 to 45 days, a 29% reduction. And our conversion rates from assessment or interview to offer significantly improved from circa 9 to 1 to circa 5 to 1. We're also asked to target high-quality, customer-focused recruits. 90% of line managers, when surveys, did identify that their now colleagues' performance met or exceeded their expectations. Through our slick and professional attraction platforms that we've overhauled, new employees are engaged with the brand even before they begin, and actually our engagement scores as a business is well above average for both the industry and actually the UK average as well. And then at the bottom there, with workforce planning, we've got the right people, not just on time, but actually ahead of time. And now 80% of our recruits are actually planned for in advance of when that vacancy lands. We also need to provide a world-class internal stakeholder and candidate experience. Well, 82% of individuals said that the quality was either good or very good. And we are now viewed as trusted advisors, and the transformed model has been praised. It's key to think, for me, one of the big things, if we look back a couple of years ago, and the journey that we've been on, is the culture behind it, is our standing within the business. So we've gone from being a team that purely administers and transacts the demands of a hiring community, to we're the ones now actually leading that resourcing agenda, and we are the subject matter experts, and we are trusted advisors. So our position within the business has gone up tenfold. So in conclusion, thanks to the overhaul, we do now have the greatest level of resourcing insight that we've ever had, and we're bringing in new recruits of a higher quality. They require less performance management, and they're more engaged, and we're doing all of this within a quicker time frame. So this transformation means we are ready for the changes to the rail network, of which there are significant ones over the next few years, so we needed to do this, and we are now positioned as one of the leading recruiters in our sector. Thank you very much.